Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, no matter where you are, whenever you're watching this. This is Floating in Dreams, and today I'm going to talk about which makeup products I would recommend you save your money on and which products you can splurge on. Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. Today's video is going to be about which makeup products I like to buy more drugstore, budget proof, and which products I like to spend a little bit more money on. These are just my preferences, and of course these would be my recommendations to you. There are just certain categories in makeup where I feel you really don't need to spend a whole lot of money to find good products, but there's also other categories where I feel that if you spend a little bit more, you also get more. In case you're new here, hi, my name is Maaike. I live in the Netherlands. I love coming on here to chat about eyeshadow palettes with you, Essence and Catrice reviews, and getting the use out of my makeup. And because I have fair skin with a cool to neutral undertone, I deem myself a snow angel. So if you'd like to join the Snow Angel Club, then please hit the subscribe button down below, because I would love for you to join my little family on here. And that's also where this video comes in. Because I have fair skin with a cool to neutral undertone, I find that certain products are just better for me if I buy them from more high-end or luxury brands. That definitely factors into it. But I also like getting the use out of my makeup, and the true workhorses of my makeup collection that I use up before I move on to anything else. Those are the things I like to not spend too much money on. So it kind of goes hand in hand with what I like doing on this channel here. So let me get to the products. Let's talk about the save products first. So what products do I think you should save your money on? So these are the workhorses in my collection. As I already mentioned, these are the items that you see me rotating in and out of Shop My Stashes whenever I've used them up, and that's why I like to go with them at a more affordable price point, because these are the products that I tend to replace most often. Not only because I like using them up before I move on to the next product, but also because they are not the products you really see. Like, they do something for my makeup, but even with some of these products, I feel you don't necessarily need these per se in your makeup routine. So if you're like me and you like to use quite minimal makeup, there are products here that you see a lot of people using that I also use, but that I think aren't necessarily 100% like you need these in your makeup routine. You could definitely go without them. So that's why these are in the save category. And I'd like to start off with setting spray. I've just grabbed products from my current Shop My Stash to show you these products as like examples of what I mean here. But setting spray is a product you just don't need. Nobody needs setting spray. If you have a good enough foundation and you've done your skincare, you really don't need a setting spray to lock everything into place or to hydrate your face again afterwards. You could just skip powder. If you need to hydrate and if you want to lock it in, you can use a powder to do so. So is this a necessary step in your makeup routine? No. But is the experience of using a nice setting spray a nice experience to have at the end of your makeup routine? I think so, and because I do want my makeup to last during a long teaching day, that's why I do like using a setting spray, because I think it helps. But is it 100% necessary to make your makeup last? Not at all. So that's why I don't like to spend a whole lot of money on setting sprays. I have used some more expensive ones in the past, but I've always felt they just weren't the money. The Urban Decay All-Nighter is a little bit too heavy duty for me. I've got quite dry skin, and I can see, like, if you were to do like lots of red carpets and you really need your makeup to stick, it can be nice, but for my day-to-day life it was just a little too much. So I like going with something that's a bit more hydrating. And then the Catrice Multi-Talent Fixing Spray is nice. I like the green tea one from Makeup Revolution, or Revolution Beauty they're called now, and this is my current favorite. It's the Pretty Fresh Hyaluronic Acid Setting Mist from ColourPop. And what I love about it is that you get a good decent amount of product. It's not super expensive. It's got a really nice fine mister. It's not overly fragranced, and this has been in my Shop My Stash for a few months now. Very often with setting spray, I feel I go through them very quickly, but this has also been lasting quite well. So I have about like a third left. So I think that I won't be able to use this up before the end of the year. And I like how I can also get some more longevity out of this. Speaking of longevity, an area that I also feel you don't need face primer. So face primer has definitely been something that really was hyped up by makeup influencers, but this is again a category that if you just have good skincare, you don't need a primer. You don't need a primer to hydrate your face. All you need is a good moisturizer. And what you'll see very often do if people are actual makeup artists and they do makeup for a living, very often they'll just use something like the Embryolisse Lait Concentré, which is a moisturizer essentially, but they'll very often use it as a primer. So do you need a dedicated primer step in your makeup routine? I'm not entirely convinced. What I like to do though is that I like to do my entire skincare routine, let that sink in, and then I do like starting off my makeup routine with a primer. Again, like with setting sprays, I've tried a couple of more expensive primers, and the only one that I felt worth a repurchase was the Milk Hydro Grip. Everything else I've tried, that Becca First Light Priming Filter that everybody was loving, I didn't find it too special. I've tried some from Too Faced, I've tried the Primerizer from Smashbox, I've tried a couple over time, but I feel that Essence and Catrice do some really lovely things, and they come out with new ones all the time, so I'm always trying them out. And the Hydrator Plump and Fresh Primer from Catrice has been a really, really good buy for me, so definitely don't spend too much money on primers. You can find really good ones at a drugstore price point. And I feel very similarly about that other type of primer, which I do feel is a must-have in a makeup routine, and that is eyeshadow primer. My ultimate all-time favorite eyeshadow primer, the Milani eyeshadow primer for sure. This is one that I've gone back to, but I've also used some from Essence and Catrice that I've loved, but this is the one that I've repurchased the most. Way back in the day when I was first introduced to eyeshadow primer, you really only had two of them on the market, the Too Faced Shadow Insurance and the Urban Decay Primer Potion. So I've tried those as well, and this just takes the cake. I like this so much. It's much more affordable, especially if you live in the US. This is a fraction of the price point of some more higher end ones. It doesn't conceal your lid, it really just only works to stick down shadow though. But I love this because you can still blend shadows on top of it. It's unlike a glitter glue, not too sticky of a base. But with me, what I always like to do is a double prime because I have deep set hooded eyes. So what I like to do is use this first at the start of my makeup routine, let it sink in, let it do its magic, and then when I get to my eyeshadow, that's when I go in with the MAC Painterly Paint Pot, which is another eyeshadow primer, and that's what I set with shadow. And then I apply my shadow, and I never experience creasing unless it's like an eyeshadow that I'm not very familiar with and I use the wrong technique or I use too much. Then it can happen, but the Milani eyeshadow primer has been my hero product, and I feel that eyeshadow primer is definitely not a product you need to spend a lot of money on. Now this is going to divide a lot of opinions, I think, but I also feel you don't need to spend a whole lot of money on face powder. So I do like to set my face with a little bit of powder when I do my makeup, even though I have dry skin, because I just feel that powder is what really makes your makeup last. I like more glowy illuminating powders like this one, but I have since discovered that you can go high-end with your powders, and I've tried a couple of good ones in the past, but there's lots of dupes on the market for much more high-end products. I'm currently holding up the Kiko Radiant Fusion Powder. This is in my Shop My Stash, and I'm absolutely loving it. This is my replacement for the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Powder in Diffuse Light. It's the same shade, it works the same way. Maybe the Hourglass is just a little bit more finely milled, but I feel that this has the same effect. It doesn't crease my makeup, it doesn't make it look cakey, and that's exactly what I need. And if you were looking for a dupe for the Charlotte Tilbury powder that everybody's hyping up, then look into Essence, because they do the Skin Loving Sensitive powder, and that I have found is a great dupe for the Charlotte Tilbury. I have two of those in backup because I love that powder so much. Catrice does some really nice powders too. Again, not a product you need to really break the bank. Now, a product that I really feel you really shouldn't spend your money on is mascara. Buy your mascara at the drugstore or from budget places, because mascara is a product that sits really close to your eyes. And one of my first experiences with makeup was when I didn't have any makeup for myself. I actually borrowed someone else's mascara and I had pink eye for 3 days afterwards. I was like 11 at the time, so I didn't know that you shouldn't share mascara wands. I now know better, luckily. But yeah, mascara expires super quickly, it dries up, it gets cakey, and because the wand sits so close to your eyes and you dip it into the product constantly, an average mascara will only last you 3 to 4 months. Even if the formula still feels okay, it is just better to chuck them. So I rotate through my volumizing mascara every 3 months, unless I'm wearing a mascara that is by Essence and Catrice. Those usually last only for about 4 to 6 weeks. That's when they start to get pretty dry and clumpy. So with mascara, I really love the Maybelline Falsies Lash Lift. This is the one that's currently in my Shop My Stash. I feel I can get 3 to 4 months of wear out of this one before it really starts to dry down. I really like the effect this gives. It's what's on my lashes today. In fact, all of the products, because I just did my makeup with these products. So if you want to know what these look like, then that's pretty much the makeup I'm wearing today. But yeah, this is just a lovely, lovely product. And then I always like, no matter the mascara I'm using, I'm always going over it with the Catrice Glam & Doll Waterproof. I feel that this adds a layer that protects the mascara from clumping. It also, because the brush on this is really great for brushing through your lashes. I use this on the lower lash line because I feel it is pretty like smudge proof as well, and you don't get those like weird little dry balls that can fall off your lashes with some other mascaras when you use them on your lower lash line. This makes sure that it's pretty waterproof as well, so I kind of use it as a waterproof top coat, you could say. Plus it separates my lashes again. But yeah, other mascaras that I love for like a first layer, unlike the Maybelline, is the Catrice Lash Changer, but I do prefer the waterproof version over the regular version, but they're pretty okay, like pretty comparable. And the Essence Lash Princess. Those are like my favorite budget-proof ones. Oh, and the L'Oreal Paradise Aesthetic. That one I like too. And then a category that I feel you really don't need to spend a lot of money on, even though a lot of people seem to be using quite expensive pencils, and that is eyeliners, especially pencil eyeliners. I'm not entirely sure how I would feel about like liquid liners because it's just a product I don't use very often. So I tend to not invest in very expensive ones because I just know I won't get the use out of it anyway. So I have some liquid liners, but they're all by Essence and I feel they're fine for the purposes that I use them for, which is like once in a blue moon. So I don't really look into a lot of liquid liners, but eyeshadow pencils, I've used quite a few over the years. I started off buying them from luxury and high-end brands, and then I discovered that Kiko does quite possibly some of the best eyeshadow pencils on the market. They do lovely shades. They also do some really good eyeshadow sticks. So if you want a chubbier pencil as well, I'm just holding up one of their regular eyeliners. They do some really, really good things. Essence and Catrice do some lovely things too. Essence does really good lip liners too. So I feel like pencil products, also because you can just sharpen them if you want to revive them, you really don't need to splurge on. You can just go with something that's cheap and cheerful and you're good to go. And finally, this is like a 2-in-1 double whammy, but I feel you don't need to spend a lot of money on brows. Now, granted, I don't have a very difficult eyebrow shade, so very often I can find my match in more affordable lines. However, if you have like red hair, then it may be a little bit more difficult to find. I'm very well aware. But I love Essence and Catrice for brow products. I just do. So this is the Catrice Brow Pen Pro. This is what's currently in my Shop My Stash. I've tried so many of their brow products over the years, and they just do some really solid things. The the Catrice Slimmatic Eyebrow Pencil is really good too. And from Essence, for those of you who've been following me for a while, you know I love this. The Essence Make Me Brow. This is in the shade, I always forget, Blondie Brows. It comes in more shades now. They only used to do 2. I think there's 3 or 4 of them right now. This is just the best brow gel I've ever tried. I was afraid they were discontinuing this at some point, and I bought like 5 products for backup because I like panic bought them because I thought they were gonna disappear. But so far, Essence has kept them in their line and I still love it. And now we're getting into the splurge section of this video. So you kind of now know what steps are left in my makeup routine, and that's mostly color products. Anything to do with color correcting or like foundation, concealer, blush, bronzer, highlight, eyeshadow. Those are all things that I feel that if you put your money towards it, you get more bang for your buck. And here it's very good to realize that my dry, dehydrated, sensitive skin, a lot of drugstore formulas just don't work with it. The only times I've ever had a breakout or like an allergic reaction to a foundation has been if I tried drugstore products, so I'm a bit biased because of that. Plus, this fair skin tone isn't always carried by all drugstore lines. In fact, there are high-end lines that also make it very difficult for me to buy from. But it just means that if I want a good bronzer shade or a highlighter that isn't going to look too funky on me, I'm very often better off spending a bit more money on those categories. So let me show you some examples. Let's just start with base because I think that's better. Now this was already in my Shop My Stash last month, and I was wearing this in a lot of my videos that went live about a week ago. So if you want to see what this looks like on my skin, then you can see it there. Today I am wearing an affordable foundation and I'm pretty happy with the shade match. So that's a good thing. I'm not saying that affordable brands can't do it. It's just that it's harder to find, in case you know, to catch my drift. And this is one of those high-end foundations that also made it very difficult for me to find my shade match. This is the Giorgio Armani Neo Nude Foundation, but I have so many foundations that are just a perfect match if they are from higher end brands. Plus I feel that the formulas are often much better. This I especially rate very highly because of the formula. It's a great summertime base. It's very lightweight. It's best applied with a brush and fingers. So this is not something you can use with a sponge because too much product is soaked up and you'll end up taking away a lot of the product and some of the coverage it has. It barely has any coverage though. That may be good to know as well. So yeah, I love, love, love the Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk as well. I tried that for the first time last year. It was one of the best foundations I tried all year. Loved it. I also really like some Charlotte Tilbury foundations. I love my Dior Backstage foundation. I love my YSL Touche Eclat and All Hours foundations. Like when it comes to foundations, my favorites tend to be quite bougie options. Not gonna lie. Now, what is the issue with Giorgio Armani Neo Nude for me? This line has a lot of shades, but not all of the shades are carried where I live. So I had to order this in from the UK because shade 1.5 isn't available where I live. So very often what I'll find also with certain drugstore brands is that the shades will exist. Like if you go online and you look it up, you'll find that there are shades available that could be a match. But then I find the product in my local store and then it's just not there. And with this, I can even order it online from Douglas, which carries Giorgio Armani makeup. The product is just either the brand or Douglas decided to not stock the lightest and deepest shades of this line in the Netherlands. So the shades exist, but you can't buy them. Well, luckily we have international web shops that make it a little easier to get, but with drugstore, that's another gripe I have, is that a lot of drugstore brands aren't available online from international retailers. So very often that's very local, and I can't buy it. Like I cannot buy like the lightest shade in a Maybelline foundation, and also that new nude foundation from L'Oreal. They sell it here, but the lightest shade, which is shade I need, isn't for sale where I live. So that's very, very difficult. So I actually have to travel to other countries in order to be able to pick up those products. And we all know what the travel situation has been like for the past 2 to 3 years. Pretty much non-existent. Concealer. Now I love a lot of drugstore concealers, I'm not gonna lie, but I have been discovering K-Beauty in recent months, years, and I have found that they do some excellent concealers. But you know, concealer is another one of those products where I tend to like use it up and then move on to the next thing. So with concealer, I feel a bit meh, but I have been discovering this lately, the Charlotte Tilbury Corrector in the shade Fair. And I have just found that for the summertime, just this dabbed along my under eye area is really all the concealer I need, like a lightweight base and then this product. So I do like spending a bit more money on my concealer from time to time. I don't always do it because some of my favorites are also like more affordable things. Like I love an Essence concealer that's been around for years. They're 16-hour concealer, but it comes in so few shades. And that's another issue that I have with a lot of concealers, is that it doesn't come in my shade, or it oxidizes, or it's far too cakey. And especially the concealers that are hyped up in the beauty community, I often don't like. So that's why, again, my favorite concealers are usually high-end. And then I want to chat to you about like other color products as well, and especially bronzer. Currently in my Shop My Stash, I selected this Dior bronzer. This is the Dior Forever Natural, is that what it's called? Forever Natural bronzer in tan bronze. It's what I have on today. It's one of my perfect bronzers for the summertime. And I remember, especially when I first got into makeup, bronzer was so difficult for me to buy because none of the undertones worked for me. And it's truly high-end brands that started delving into doing more shades than just the 1 or 2 shades that we used to get. Like very often there was only like 1 shade of bronzer in a line, and it was like, what's this? I love bronzers that are a little bit more cool toned. I have found really good ones at the drugstore as well, but I still think that because higher end lines tend to do more different shades, you are more likely to find your match at a higher price point. Plus the formulas are usually better. I mean, I believe this one comes in like 8 or 10 different shades of bronzer. That's great, you know? So I hope there's just a lot more that people can find, and I definitely feel that at the drugstore, bronzers definitely don't go dark enough. So I love the Catrice bronzer. What's it called again? Oh, the Luminous bronzer. I'll pop a picture up on the screen, or the name on the screen right now if I remember it when I'm editing. But it only comes in 2 shades, so many people can buy it. So that's why I definitely feel that bronzer is a product to spend a bit more money on. And I feel similarly about highlighter. Sure, I love a good affordable highlighter every single day of the week, but truth be told, when you go high end, you get more interesting shades, you get more interesting finishes, you get formulas that don't leave a cast, even though this looks like it's going to be too dark for me. This is Show Gold from MAC. You can just see, like, it doesn't have a cast, it just gives a really nice pretty shine. Whereas with drugstore formulas, highlighters can sometimes really sit on the skin, and I feel that very often I just am happier if I use my more high-end ones. And I feel similarly about blush. Again, there are so many great blushes at the drugstore too, but when I'm going to be, like, if I were to, like, really hone in on the shades I love, it's always a high-end product. Currently in my Shop My Stash is the Fenty Beauty Cream Blush in Strawberry Drip, but I have sworn by Benefit's Coralista for almost a decade. Hourglass blushes I love. I love the Pat McGrath Divine blush as well. That's really stunning. In terms of like cream and liquid, I'm not sure yet how picky I'm going to be because that's an area that I've only been exploring in like the past year or so. But especially for powder blush, I feel that blush at a higher price point comes in much better shades, much better formulas that are easier to work with, and especially if you are fair-skinned, an overly saturated blush, while very stunning, if you have fair skin, it's just going to make you look like a clown, and that's never a good look. And then eyeshadow. I just happen to have this lying here because I'm going to be filming another video right after this, but Natasha Denona Gold is one of my all-time favorite eyeshadow palettes. Now, do you need to go this expensive to find good eyeshadow? No, of course not. But I do feel that eyeshadow is an area where if you spend a little bit more, you just get lots better formulas than when you go more affordable. Drugstore eyeshadow can be just very hit and miss, and it's very difficult to find the good things and like filter out what is just not going to work. Some of it is really badly pigmented, or it just blends away into nothing. I feel that if you spend more, like if you go for palettes that are like 30, 35 euros and up, I feel you get consistent quality, better color stories, and it just usually works a lot better. And that's also where the innovation happens, I feel. Indie brands are very often not the cheapest, but they're the ones that are really sort of driving the trends when it comes to what eyeshadow palettes get like developed. And I just feel that, you know, if you spend a bit more money, you just get better quality makeup when it comes to eyeshadow palettes. I also feel the same way about lipsticks. This is the Lisa Eldridge Luxuriously Lucent Lipstick in Love of My Life, which is on my lips right now. It's a pinky shade that I wasn't a big fan of when I first tried it, because this was one of the shades I didn't pick up straight away because it's like, pink lipstick, is that really me? But I think that for the summertime, something like this can be very pretty. I have been raving about Lisa Eldridge lipsticks ever since I discovered these. I own the entire True Velvet line. I'm very close to sort of working my way up the luxuriously Lucent lipsticks as well and getting all of those because I just love the formula. And that's the thing I love about higher end lipsticks. They very often will just have prettier shades, better formulas that are long lasting without it feeling very uncomfortable on the lips. I feel that with lipstick, if you spend more, you just get a better quality product. That doesn't mean that there aren't any nice lipsticks at the drugstore. I love a couple of Catrice ones for sure. I have found some stunning lipsticks that are not super expensive from K-beauty brands. Like, there are really good things out there, but I just feel that with a lipstick, like the packaging, the texture, the feel, the experience of using it, I feel that if you pay a little bit more, you just get so much more. And finally, tools, brushes. Now granted, my favorite makeup sponge is a very cheap one, but that's again because I feel that makeup sponges you need to toss very often, whereas with brushes it's easier to wash them and you can truly have them for a lifetime. Like, I have Sigma brushes that I bought a decade ago that are still going strong in my brush collection, and I did a video about my favorite brushes I think 2 years ago. I'll make sure to link it down below because those favorites just haven't changed, which is why this year I decided to try some new brushes. These are by Refer. These are Japanese made brushes, which is my first foray into these more like high-end, more luxury brushes as well. But with brushes, if you spend a little bit more, they're truly going to stand the test of time if you take care of them and if you wash them regularly with a mild soap. They're gonna just last you forever and ever and ever. So definitely worth investing in. And that's it. Those are all of these save and splurge products that I wanted to share with you in today's video. Thank you so very much for joining me. Please give the video a thumbs up if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you'd like to see more by me. I make several videos a week, so if you'd like to stay tuned for more, and then I hope to see you in my next video. Bye bye!